The Roblox Corporation finds itself in the middle of a firestorm unlike anything it has faced before. In the space of just a few weeks, the company's been hit with lawsuits from grieving parents, faced restrictions and outright bans in certain countries, and been dragged through the mud by whistleblowers who have exposed the platform as the ultimate predator's playground. This reputational meltdown has been swift and merciless, and yet rather predictably, the company continues to insist that it has everything under control. But what's really insane is that Roblox isn't merely a kids game gone wrong, as so many headlines lazily frame it. No, this is something far bigger and far uglier, a glaring case study in what happens when corporations are allowed to run unchecked for decades, hiding behind slick PR campaigns and empty promises of safety features while quietly profiting from a system that was never safe in the first place. As the Wall Street Journal put it, Roblox has long struggled with moderating its vast platform due to the sheer scale of user-generated content, leaving millions of children exposed to risks the company cannot realistically contain. It's hardly surprising then that governments are now wading in with blunt instruments like the poorly thought out and badly implemented UK's Online Safety Act. Gamers detest that legislation, and rightly so. It's authoritarian, overreaching and punishes ordinary people rather than the billion-dollar corporations responsible for these problems. Yet its existence is also depressingly inevitable, because when companies like Roblox prove utterly incapable or even unwilling to regulate themselves, politicians inevitably reach for the sledgehammer instead of the scalpel. As Bloomberg recently noted, Roblox's safety features have created a regulatory vacuum that lawmakers are now rushing to fill, even if the tools they reach for are crude and unpopular. And that brings us to the moment the entire facade began to unravel. Not a boardroom scandal, not a courtroom battle, but a viral expose by a 22-year-old YouTuber named Schlep, the man who lit the fuse that Roblox has been desperately trying to stamp out ever since. So today, let's carry on getting the word out that the people in power have been desperately trying to stop him from spreading. If you're old enough and cultured enough to be watching this channel, then I seriously doubt you're wasting your precious gaming hours on slop like Roblox and Fortnite dances. You deserve actual video games, you know, the kind that don't rot your brain into pink neon custard. And speaking of actual games, why on earth would you pay full whack when the good stuff is going for silly money? And I'm talking about 24% off Mafia: The Old Country, 22% off Elden Ring Night Reign, a ridiculous 43% off Expedition 33, 40% off Black Myth Wukong, 29% off Stellar Blade, and that's before you even start rifling through the thousands of other bargains waiting for you. So do yourself a favour, make a shopping list, fill your basket, and laugh at all the people who still pay RRP. Links are down below. Happy shopping, and now back to the video. For those of you who are more Final Fight than Five Nights at Freddy's, Roblox presents itself as the ultimate digital toy box, a safe creative playground for kids, as the marketing spiel goes, where youngsters can supposedly express themselves, build fantastical worlds, and collaborate with friends in a sunny, family-friendly metaverse. It's an image designed to make parents feel like this is nothing more than a modern-day Lego set with a chat function and a bit of polish, rather than something that could ever possibly pose a threat. Scratch the surface, however, and that warm fuzzy branding collapses faster than a Jenga tower. Roblox is not a toy box at all. It's a $20 billion corporate machine fueled by user-generated content and a monetization model deliberately engineered to keep children hooked on a drip-feed purse economy. The company raked in $3.7 billion in revenue in 2024, and most of it from Robux, the in-game currency that many critics argue resembles gambling mechanics, teaching children that their imagination is only valuable if it comes with a credit card attached. As Forbes bluntly described it, Roblox's revenue model preys on children's desire for social status and digital goods, turning play into a continuous cycle of spending. And to give you full context, this isn't some niche corner of the internet either. Roblox boasts an astonishing 111 million daily active users, with 36% of them under the age of 13. That means more than 40 million children are logging into a platform that, by design, is a predator's dream come true. Largely anonymous accounts that can be spun up in seconds, laughably weak age verification that relies on the honour system of children self-reporting their birth date, and an endless sprawl of chat rooms, groups and user-created experiences where adults can pose as children without a challenge. But of course, according to Roblox, this is perfectly fine because nothing says child safety quite like letting your 9-year-old loose on a digital Las Vegas built by strangers. This is the liberal year of 2025 after all. The New York Times reported that Roblox's limited safety checks have allowed predators to groom children through direct messages and in-game interactions, which is a polite way of saying the so-called toy box has all this safety oversight of a crack den with a bull pit. Roblox loves to market itself as a colourful playground, but in reality, it's more like chucking your kids into a shopping mall and hoping the security guards can be bothered to look up from their phones. Spoiler, they can't. The problem isn't a glitch in the system, it is the system. Roblox's entire business model depends on squeezing every second of engagement out of children, and the easiest way to do that is to make sure they never log off, no matter how unsafe the environment becomes. The much hyped creativity angle, that's just the glossy PR fig leaf, something the company waves around in press releases while quietly cashing checks and brushing off lawsuits. Strip away the marketing and the truth is uglier. Roblox is a machine optimized for corporate growth at the direct expense of the very children it pretends to empower. As Bloomberg put it bluntly, Roblox's growth strategy has always prioritized engagement over safety. With a third of its users under 13, that choice comes at a heavy cost. Or, to put it even more bluntly, child safety doesn't drive shareholder value, so it isn't a priority. But still, not everyone is content with the status quo surrounding this insanely predatory brand. Enter Schlep, a 22-year-old YouTuber who, armed with little more than a webcam, persistence and a sense of moral outrage, managed to accomplish what Roblox Corporation, with its billion-dollar valuation, AI moderation systems and battalion of PR flaks, supposedly could not. In his viral expose, Roblox is threatening to sue me for protecting kids, he laid bare what many parents feared but the company downplayed, that the so-called safe haven for creativity had in reality become a breeding ground for predators. What's even more damning is that Schlep didn't just sit around theorizing about the dangers, he went in and proved it. He infiltrated predatory groups, found offenders operating in broad daylight, and even passed information to law enforcement when it crossed that line. In short, he was doing the job Roblox endlessly promises in its glossy safety reports but never actually delivers on. Imagine that, a lone researcher with a laptop managing to achieve what a multi-billion-dollar company with an entire trust and safety department somehow can't. Almost makes you think that they're not really trying. And how did Roblox respond to this act of digital whistleblowing? By banning his account and slapping him with a cease and desist. Their instinct wasn't to deal with the predators he exposed, but to silence the person making them look bad. It's a classic corporate Goliath routine. Don't fix the rot, just crush the little man who dares to point it out. And now we see the problem isn't just the predators on the platform, it's a corporation so desperate to save face that it opts to protect nonces in the process. This wasn't some innocent corporate blunder, it was a calculated damage control. Roblox decided that Schlep himself was the problem, equating whistleblowing with harmful behaviour because heaven forbid anyone shine a light on their mess. That told us everything we needed to know about where their loyalties really lie. Not with the children they pretend to protect, but with the shareholders they actually serve. Predators could be brushed off as an unfortunate inevitability, but a YouTuber loud enough to drag the issue into the mainstream? That was intolerable, because he didn't threaten the players, he threatened the bottom line, and for Roblox, nothing is more dangerous than that, and that is why Schlep's expose hit harder than any lawsuit or Bloomberg feature ever could. He became living proof that ordinary people could see the rot for themselves, predators thriving in real time, while the company's response was to punish the messenger. It transformed Roblox's failings from another dry corporate scandal into a straight-up morality tale, one where the villain wasn't just the predators but the corporation shielding them. And when you set that against how other platforms are treated, the hypocrisy becomes blinding. So, let's dig deeper. Smaller platforms like Steam and itch.io have been relentlessly hammered recently by payment processors for hosting fictional adult content, games clearly marked as 18+, often hidden behind age gates and involving nobody but consenting pixels. Visa and MasterCard swooped in with moral outrage, forcing these platforms to pull hundreds of titles, restructure their storefronts, and, in itch.io's case, scrub entire categories of artistic work from visibility, and the justification: protecting children. As PC Gamer rather dryly put it, the crackdown on indie storefronts has always seemed more about PR than protection, easy targets with no Wall Street friends to call on. Now, compare that to Roblox, a platform with documented real-world child exploitation cases, predator arrests across multiple states, and lawsuits from grieving families. If protecting children were truly the concern, you'd expect Roblox to be blacklisted, cut off from payment processors and stripped of its brand partnerships. Instead, it remains untouched, even celebrated, with Visa sponsoring in-game events and MasterCard tying its logo to Roblox merchandise. The Financial Times captured the contradiction bluntly. The same companies that cut ties with adult indie developers are investing millions into Roblox branding exercises despite ongoing scrutiny of its child safety record. You see, the difference, of course, isn't morality, it's money. Steam and itch.io are privately held, with no Wall Street backers to shield them. Roblox, on the other hand, is publicly traded, and more than 70% of its stock is institutionally owned. Vanguard, Fidelity, BlackRock. These financial giants don't just hold Roblox's shares, they also wield enormous influence over the very payment networks supposedly standing guard. When the same institutions sit on both sides of the table, the outcome is predictable. Roblox gets protection. Everyone else gets punishment. So Steam gets censored for pixels, itch.io gets punished for niche indie projects, but Roblox gets a free pass, while real children are victimized because Roblox is plugged directly into the corporate financial bloodstream. The difference isn't content, it's connections, and that's what makes the whole thing so sickening. The deeper you dig, the worse it gets. This was never about protecting children, it was about protecting investments. Strip away the PR, and the truth is obvious: morality is just the costume. Money is the script, the stage, and the director's chair. And the people pulling the strings, they're not guardians of safety, they're parasites in suits, feeding off children while lecturing everyone else about responsibility. Once you see the double standard, you can't unsee it. Roblox isn't thriving in spite of its scandals, it's thriving because of who's protecting it. Payment processors, brand partners, and Wall Street are all too busy counting dividends to care about what happens on the ground. The predators aren't just on the platform, they're in the boardrooms, dressed up in pinstripes and clutching quarterly reports. And that brings us neatly to the financial protection racket, propping this whole debauched circus up. So, Let's name and shame them. If you want to understand why Roblox gets away with the things that would destroy any smaller platform, you only need to follow the money. Roughly 70% of Roblox shares are owned by institutional investors, with Vanguard, Fidelity and BlackRock alone holding billions of dollars worth of stock. BlackRock, in particular, the self-styled global leader in ethical ESG investing, has billions sunk into Roblox, which means every single predator scandal on the platform is quietly underwriting their quarterly profits. These are not passive stakeholders either. They wield voting power that could force Roblox to clean house tomorrow. The fact that they don't tells you everything. And here's the galling part. They plaster their websites with rainbow banners in June, churn out glossy reports about inclusion, and give grand speeches about building a better future. Yet, when it comes to the one arena where they could actually act, by reining in a company enabling predators on a platform dominated by children, suddenly all that talk of responsibility evaporates. Their principles collapse the moment they clash with profit, revealing them for what they really are. Not values, but branding exercises designed to make exploitation look respectable. Then there are the payment processors Visa and MasterCard, who love to posture as guardians of morality when it suits them. They forced Steam and itch.io to strip out thousands of adult titles, all fictional, all age-gated, and many of them artistic explorations of taboo subjects. And all this under the guise of protecting children. Yet these same companies not only tolerate Roblox, a platform with documented real-world child exploitation cases, but they actively partner with it, and not just as one-offs. We're talking Olympic tie-ins, Grammy event promotions, branded merchandise, and Roblox gift cards proudly sold through their networks. As Bloomberg put it during one of these sponsorship pushes, Roblox has become a safe vehicle for corporate brands to reach children directly, a space regulators have been slower to police than traditional advertising. The result is a grotesque double standard. Steam and itch.io get obliterated for hosting pixelated sex scenes between consenting adults, while Roblox gets a gold star and a marketing deal despite facilitating grooming, exploitation, and real-world harm. This isn't child protection, it's a protection racket. One where branding shields billion-dollar corporations while competitors are crushed for crimes they haven't even fucking committed. It's hard to overstate just how disgusting this is. We're not talking about abstract policy features or a few unlucky oversights. This is a system that knowingly looks the other way while children are put at risk. All so billionaires can squeeze a little more juice out of their quarterly fucking reports. The same institutions that brand themselves as champions of ethics and responsibility are, in practice, enabling predators by propping up the very platform where they flourish. It's deplorable. It's cowardly, and it lays bare just how cheaply values are bought and sold in the corporate world. But it's also important to remember corporations only ever function within the environments and mechanisms they're allowed to. They don't suddenly sprout consciences. When children are involved, they behave exactly as the system incentivizes them to behave. When growth is rewarded and accountability is punished, you end up with a world where predatory behavior is tolerated if it keeps the share price climbing, while critics and whistleblowers are crushed for daring to disrupt the narrative, which leaves us with the bigger question: what sort of system creates those incentives in the first place? To understand why Roblox has been allowed to become the cesspit it is today, you have to look at the wider American regulatory landscape, a landscape that has always prioritized corporate freedom over any form of public safety. For decades, the United States has been obsessed with protecting innovation and the free market, which in practice means giving corporations carte blanche to do whatever they like so long as the money keeps flowing. The laws that supposedly keep children safe online are laughably inadequate. The Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPPA as you probably know it, passed in 1998. only restricts how companies collect data from children under 13. It does nothing to address grooming, monetization practices, or exploitative design. Then there's Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, the hallowed shield that ensures platforms cannot be held liable for user-generated content, even when those platforms are structured in ways that actively enable harm. As the Washington Post has noted, Section 230 was designed for a smaller, more innocent internet, but it has become the legal armour shielding platforms from accountability at a massive scale. Roblox, then, isn't a tragic accident nor an isolated corporate failure. It is the logical conclusion of decades of deregulation and laissez-faire ideology. Build a system where profit trumps all else, where oversight is toothless, and where accountability can be dodged with a PR statement, and you end up with a company like Roblox, a multi-billion-dollar behemoth profiting off children while shrugging its shoulders at the inevitable fallout. Nothing illustrates this more grotesquely than Roblox's CEO David Baszucki's widely criticised remark in a BBC interview where he commented, "My first message would be, if you're not comfortable, don't let your kids be on Roblox." Parents whose children had been groomed or exploited described the line as washing his hands of responsibility, and rightly so. It was an astonishingly callous statement, one that made clear Roblox's business model depends not on solving safety but on placing the burden entirely on parents while continuing to market the game as a safe, creative playground. Baszucki is an utterly grotesque little man, as Roblox doesn't just tolerate risks, it dresses up the whole thing as wholesome. The branding screams safety, creativity and childhood imagination, but behind the curtain it's a monetized minefield where predators are treated as collateral damage. To market that facade to parents, to actively court trust while knowing full well what's happening on the platform is beyond cynical. It's predatory in itself, because when the mask slips, the message is very simple. Your kids, your responsibility. Roblox gets the money, you get the consequences. And here's the rotten thread running through all of it. When the backlash comes, it isn't Roblox or its billionaire investors who feel the squeeze. Governments desperate to be seen as doing something reach for sweeping laws like the UK's Online Safety Act. But these measures don't punish the corporations that created the mess. They come down hardest on ordinary people, ushering in a surveillance-heavy, censorious internet where gamers, already distrustful of government meddling, end up paying the price for corporate negligence. It's the same old story. Corporations run wild, regulators panic, and once again the burden falls on normal people to live with the consequences. The whole situation is beyond disgusting, but fortunately there is still hope, as we should get into soon. At the end of all of this, it's not Roblox's executives, its shareholders or its cozy payment partners who pay the price for all the damage they are doing. It's ordinary people. It's children who are left vulnerable to grooming and exploitation on a platform designed to maximize profits, not safety. It's parents who thought they were giving their kids something fun and creative, only to discover that the safe playground was actually a predator's paradise. And it's the rest of us forced to live under sweeping regulations that clamp down on our freedoms because governments can't seem to get a proper grip on the corporations actually responsible. We all dislike, nay, hate the UK's Online Safety Act, and rightly so. It's overreaching, it's authoritarian, and punishes normal users instead of addressing the real problem. But its existence is not random. It's a direct result of corporations being allowed to grow so powerful that governments feel they can't regulate them effectively. As The Guardian observed, the OSA is a law aimed at the public because tackling big tech directly proved too difficult. When politicians can't rein in billion-dollar firms like Roblox, they reach for the next easiest target: us. They regulate the people because that's all they can get away with. And this is why public pressure matters. Corporations like Roblox aren't scared of fines, lawsuits, or angry headlines. They've already factored those in as a cost of doing business. What they are scared of is collective outrage, because when ordinary people unite and start pointing the finger, investors get nervous, brand partnerships crumble, and suddenly these companies are forced to listen. As TechCrunch noted after one of Roblox's safety controversies, the most effective accountability mechanism isn't regulators, it's public backlash. That's the power most of us don't realise we have, and it's the one power they can't buy their way out of. Roblox has built its empire on the backs of children. If governments won't hold them accountable, then it falls on us to make enough noise that they can't keep sweeping it under the rug. Because when ordinary people push back together, even the largest corporations discover they aren't untouchable at all. The Roblox scandal is not a glitch in the system, it is the system. A platform with over 111 million daily users, 36% of them under 13, has become a case study in how Wall Street, payments processors, and a deregulated tech culture work together to shield corporations from accountability. Roblox's biggest shareholders, BlackRock, Vanguard, and Fidelity, are the same institutions tied to Visa and MasterCard, the very payment rails that blacklist indie platforms like Itch.io for adult fiction, while happily processing Roblox gift cards, merchandise, and branded events, despite documented cases of grooming, exploitation, and lawsuits from grieving parents. And what do we get in response? Not meaningful corporate accountability, but sweeping laws like the UK's Online Safety Act, legislation that doesn't rein in billion-dollar firms, but instead strips freedoms from ordinary users. Normal people shouldn't be losing their privacy and online rights so that Roblox investors can keep cashing dividends and executives can keep awarding themselves bonuses. This is the choice laid bare. Do we keep allowing corporations and their financial backers to regulate themselves, which in practice means no regulation at all, or do we finally demand that the weight of law, scrutiny, and pressure falls on them rather than on us? Because as long as Roblox, Visa, MasterCard, BlackRock, and Vanguard are left untouched, nothing will change. Predators will keep slipping through the cracks, shareholders will keep profiting, and governments will keep reaching for the blunt tool of regulating us instead. They can spin PR, they can buy lobbyists, but they cannot withstand the collapse of their own reputation when ordinary people unite, speak out, and point the finger where it belongs. That is the power we still hold. The children who log into Roblox every day deserve far better than a system that treats them as collateral damage in the pursuit of shareholder growth. And so do we. If you are still here by this point, one would imagine that you are pretty passionate about gaming, so don't forget that I can get you 24% off Mafia the Old Country, 22% off Elden Ring Night Reign, a ridiculous 43% off Expedition 33, 40% off Black Myth Wukong, 29% off Stellar Blade, and that's before you even start rifling through the thousands of other bargains waiting for you. So do yourself a favour, make a shopping list, fill your basket, and laugh at the people still paying RRP. Or, if you want to support what I do in a more personal way, access my behind-the-scenes cosplay library and more by becoming a backer over on Patreon.